Hello, you are listening to Standing in the Fire, where Chris, John, and sometimes Garrett, hopefully soon Garrett, the owners of Fireside.fm, talk about what it's like to be in the heat of SaaS growth. We have some heat lately.
You have some heat?
Yeah, right? I mean, some heat, yeah. Things don't always go perfect, so lots of things are going great, but some things aren't. So we're going to stick to our recent segment format because it makes it really easy to do a podcast. So first we're going to start with Into the Fire, which is basically, what's been hard, what's been messy, what's been stretching in business, life, any of that kind of stuff. It's the opposite of reels.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Why don't you go first? Unless you don't want to.
No, we can start. We'll start with today's
debacle.
Catastrophe debacle.
Watergate.
Yeah. Literally. We have our own version of Watergate. So you build an amazing space that you're like, the best amenities, what's going to bring people in from 30 minutes away to come to our space. And we decided it was coffee, draft lattes, draft cold brew, pour over machine, batch brewing system.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? You could run out of water.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to create coffee, and I say create, I'm not a coffee drinker, with regular water.
As shown by the DC.
You want to use RO water. And so, you get in this morning and your RO is empty and your kegs are empty. And now you have a bunch of angry people of like, where's the coffee? Where's the coffee? Where's the coffee? Yeah. And as a non-coffee drinker, I'm like, it will be here soon. And I think I'm misunderstanding
the addiction. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I already had my coffee this morning. I was just going for a decaf, and I was still like, I turned into Pom Pom Panda, which is like a story that I read to my kids. Back in the day I did. And so whenever someone's being grumpy, we always talk about Pom Pom Panda and how he had this really bad attitude. And immediately I was just like, and like Kimmy even apologized, and I was like, it's not your fault. Like, I'm not mad at you. Just let me be disappointed for a moment, like.
Well, I think it's like, what's interesting, and this could be probably applicable to a lot of different things, is you spend so much time on different pieces for a customer experience. Yeah. And, and there's so many things we're trying to do to make sure everyone's happy, people are having a good time. And the amount of like coffee issues we've had since opening is like I would say that if you asked all the members, like what's been a recurring issue, it's with the coffee. Yeah. And probably because we're not a restaurant, so we're that's not our primary focus, but we wanted to have restaurant quality experience. I mean, hopefully like we're 6 months in and we're still not solved with it.
But it's been really smooth, I would say, overall for at least a couple months. Yeah. I was going to say a couple months, but I tend to just say a couple months every time, and that's not always accurate. Yeah. But I feel like it has been pretty smooth for a couple months though. Yeah. And it is really good coffee. Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty rare that you just walk in and get a draft latte or something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's been today's debacle, and it's interesting how that can throw off like what you thought you were going to do in the morning more than you expected.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things too where I feel like you get hit with something, and then it's like, how do you respond? Yeah. Like, do you respond with like, okay, this is an opportunity to turn it around. Yep. I'm gonna like go to the nearest coffee place and buy a thing, or like what you did, which is just reach out to our coffee provider and be like, look, we're out of water, we don't know why. Yeah. But can you just make us a batch?
Yeah. And what I think probably learning experience for us is to more quickly try to turn that into surprise and delight. Yeah. So when our community manager came in at 8:00 and understood that there was no coffee, and so I get a text, that the water is not working as we expected to, take that moment to go and try to temporarily fix it with something. Yeah. And maybe get some donuts. Do something like that that's low cost. Idea. I know. I thought of it as we were talking here. Yeah. But it would be above it. So it's almost like people will forget about it. And so by the time that we need it again, it will hopefully be fixed because the water guy's coming out today. But I think that's applicable more. This is just like obviously the primary situation that we were dealing with today. But even with software, like when things break, how do you turn that from people being angry into adding additional tweak to it because of the feedback they gave might actually make it better.
Yeah. And I mean, that happened. I think that's kind of my thing too, is like some of the hard, messy things for me are like remembering to do support. Cause like I generally do the support, but once in a while I'll get into like builder mode. And if you're in builder mode, you're just thinking like, how do I get this thing done, shipped out? And then you kind of forget about like, oh, these people are waiting. They're not waiting. It's not like they're waiting long. Maybe they wait like a day or 2 days. They're not getting mad.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if it was me, I would be mad on the other end, because I kind of expect, like, when I am paying for service and software and I send in an easy thing, like within like a day, maybe I'll get a response,
Yeah, I think it's like, it's interesting because on the other side, I'm just thinking some of the software we've been using, like for, bring back to the space, there's things that, so they now have an AI tool for, like, that's the first line of support.
Oh, yeah.
Asking questions. So that would I say for where is something questions, like that's it's a very good like help desk sort of thing.
Yeah. I actually wished that AI version existed for more things by default, but you could just bypass it at any moment and say, just take me to a person.
Because there's a thing of like, oh, I need to figure out how to change this setting, or how do I do this in the app? Yep. And I would say typically it's been actually really good at finding the solution.
Yeah.
But it's more of, it has hard-coded categories or something like that. It doesn't make sense in the settings, and I want that to be editable or changeable. And that should be an easy thing, but the chatbot's never gonna give me that answer or put that in a queue.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should take our help docs and create that agent. I'm curious of which one the software I'm talking about is using, because it's been a very different experience. Every time I want to use that, if I can't find it, I'm actually happy to use it to not have to talk to someone, because I know it's not a talk to someone issue. Yeah. But other ones that I've used with, like, one of our hosting providers for websites, like anytime you want to try to say, I don't want to say like the site's on or something like that. Like, it always tries to go you through the typical checks. Yeah. I'm like,
I've done all these.
I've done all this.
Yeah.
This is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Like, I need someone to help get this back up. Yeah. Like, don't tell me to check all these different pieces, the DNS and all that. Like, I know.
Have you unplugged it? Yeah. Have you plugged it back in? Yeah. Yeah. I've went through that on a couple of them as well, and it always kind of drives me insane. I feel like this just happened to me this morning or last night. I don't remember when I was working this. I think it was last night. Yeah. And I have to do this new migration for Flipper for various reasons. And so, like, but I do them so rare that I can never remember how to do them. And it's just like a little bit different process, because we're talking about like hundreds of gigs of data versus just like, tiny data. And so I go to like the docs and I'm like, do I need to do it here or here? And like, there's nothing in the doc that is just like, oh, for your very common setup, like, this is what you should do. And like, I'm sure, so I mean, then you go to AI and I just feed the docs to AI. Yeah. And I'm like, can you just, suss this out across all of these docs? And it's like, no, trust me, I'm doing it right. And then I'm like, I finally dug in and I was like, oh no, like, I don't have this one setting turned on like the staging versus the, the production one. And so staging is fine to just run the migration live. It doesn't matter, because if it goes down, it's just staging. Who cares? And production, then we do this like safe migration type thing. But I went through that same thing where I was like, I wish I could just talk to an AI that was tuned for that service that could tell me exactly how I do it. And so I tried to, this time I like updated the docs, because last time I did it, I figured it out. I didn't update the docs, our own docs in our repo. And then, I came back this time, our playbook, let's say, and didn't have the playbook up to date. And so then I was like, oh, how did I do this last time? I can't remember. It's been 3 months, which is an eternity in our lives, So yeah, I've definitely had those things happen too. But support, definitely remembering to do that. I actually set a reminder for myself last night. I was like, do support first thing in the morning, 8:30 a.m. So I went through and answered all the questions that were sitting in hiatus modes, things like that. Yeah. So
do you set your calendar to so you're talking about to do that this morning? Do you typically do that for the different tasks you're trying to do? Of like, what, and the context is like, one thing I've been trying to think about, how to be more consistent on the different things of like, instead of going in a spurt and be like, cool, I posted like 4 videos in the last week, and then go a month and not doing it. Yeah. Of how, like, to not have to think about it and oh, like, I'm just going to post this, you get it done and move on, versus always getting sidetracked with the different things that pop up. And I don't know. Yeah. Cause I know there's people who calendar out their whole day. I can't do that.
Matt Metzger.
Like, how do you think about that? And I say, like, new year, like, that we need to, set new goals or anything like that. But I think it's more of a cleaning house and like try to get new habits and get better habits of, I want to do this. Like, does that work for you?
For me, it's a mental thing. If I feel messy mentally, like if I feel cluttered and I feel like I'm gonna drop some stuff, then it goes right into Todoist, and I keep it in there. And then I usually put it in as like, do this tomorrow, and I put a time by it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna do it at that time, but that means, you know, like my phone, at the top of my phone, I have basically like this Todoist, the next 3 things that need to happen. And so right from there, every time I open my phone up randomly, I see, oh, you haven't done these things. So it's like, if I know I need to do it, I put it at the top. I make sure that it's there so that I remember. But if I'm not feeling messy, I might, you know, and I know I'm going to be at my desk all day, I have little sticky notes, and sometimes I'll just write the 3 or 4 things on a sticky note. I don't have like one tried and true way. It kind of depends on the context of where I'm at. But I definitely feel you on the consistency thing, because there are times where you feel like, you know, like, oh, I just crushed this for like a week, you know, and then you just do nothing for 3 weeks, and you're like, well, there's literally no point. You just got everybody excited in that week, and then you failed them for 3 weeks.
Kind of like this podcast.
Yes, exactly like this podcast.
Super consistent of doing this work. So I'm like, oh, if we do this, we're gonna be in a much better spot if we did it every week.
Yes.
And then if we consistently did it versus we pumped out 3 episodes and go 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely needs to happen. Okay, cool. Anything else, Messi?
Yeah. I know, because we kind of digress. Yeah. What's your next?
Next one, Fan the Flames. We got a recommendation for book, tool, video, idea, person that has been inspiring. I can go first since you did last time.
Yeah.
So the one that I liked a lot, and it's not directly applicable, but I just finished up the $100 million money models from Alex Hormozi. And I actually really liked that guy. I thought, you know, initially, I think we've talked about him before on here, like where, you know, he's in the tank top and the muscles and the long hair, and you're just like, what is this, you know? But he puts out really good, succinct writing. I've read all of his $100 million series and enjoyed them. And I feel like the money models one was great. Like I was reading it and I'm just like nodding my head. I think the thing that I struggle with the most is like, it's very aimed at like, if you're doing direct sales to like a person that's most likely in front of you. And so trying to apply that to like SaaS or things where marketing is kind of more the main approach than sales. Like you can think through how to do an upsell, a downsell, like all these kinds of things. And to some extent, like we have done those things. Like one of the interesting things I thought about, like with Box Out, we give 3 months free if you buy yearly.
You're right. Yep.
So how we phrase that is basically like, if you pay up front, you get a discount.
Yes.
And so, but the way he would do it instead, which I thought was really interesting, is instead of saying, okay, you get, you pay for 9 months and you get 12 months, he says, no, it's the full price. I don't discount it. I give you 3 bonus months. It's just like this subtle twist.
What's interesting, I think I was listening to that book right before the holidays. And, you know, as we're doing memberships here, it made me think of how to apply it. You know, offering people 2 different ways to get almost like a similar thing. And one is, it was listening to him, and I can't remember how he was applying it, but it was like, do we give a couple of months free up front where we're not getting the revenue, and then we get the revenue in month 3?
Yeah.
Or do we discount over the whole thing?
Yep.
And but it's a consistent payment.
Yeah.
So the payment's the same every single month for the full 12 months. But I'll have to go back and listen to the book, but there were definitely some tactics that I thought were applicable for like the membership based type.
That was actually the number one thing that I thought of when I was reading the book was like Robbie for Box Out, thinking through like, I know I've heard him on calls do a lot of those things anyways, but also like I thought about momentum a lot, because I was like, that is person to person, it's direct sales, where this kind of like map out your entire playbook of how you sell to someone so that you get them comfortable. And I really like too where he would like stop sometimes and be like, look, you have to recheck and say, like, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how interested are you in this to the customer? Like, if you're an 8 or above, I'm going to keep selling you, and we're going to find a way to make this work for both of us. But if you're not, then I'm not going to waste my time anymore. I'm not going to waste your time. Just go do something else.
And the other thing that makes me think of, and I know there's whatever people think of the guy, but like Ryan Serhant, who has that, he was on $1 million listing, and now he has like selling Manhattan, real estate agent, high-end real estate. I know one of the clips that's on Instagram a lot is, you know, his ability to follow up with you till you die is like amazing. and he goes, it can be years of just like following up with certain people before he gets the big deal. And I think of that just like how with again, maybe it's less for SaaS things because those people are just signing up on their own.
Yeah.
But with like membership stuff is like people, just because they haven't responded doesn't mean that they're not interested. They could be highly interested. There could be a lot of other things going on. And so, yeah, if they're 8 or 9, like I followed up with a guy that had to cancel a tour, 3 months ago, and I followed up with a couple times. He hasn't responded, but they were super excited from that initial thing, and they couldn't make the tour. And so I followed up again this new year. He's like, yeah, like let's do it at the end of January. I'm like, oh, glad I kept doing that. I know one of the things that I think was also in that is providing new, and I forget if it's him or someone else that has a similar mentality of like providing something new each time. So just saying like checking in is like the worst.
Yeah.
But
bump.
Yeah. But to provide some interesting tidbit or like, hey, might you think you like that? You might like this, or found this interesting that I thought you might like. That's also a way to make it not just a bump and like
here's the new single origin coffee that we're serving as soon as we have water.
Oh, interesting.
Things like there's lots of things. Or you could be like, this is the last talk that happened, or things like that. Like I feel like there's a lot of options in there. That's cool. What it reminded me of is you've heard the story of the guy who was like the best car salesman in like the history of the world.
Yes. I don't know why we both heard about it, but like maybe
I don't remember where to.
Yeah, someone that we've both listened to.
But for anyone who hasn't heard it, it's basically just this guy was notorious. He would sell like 5 cars a day for like 10 years.
Wasn't it in Michigan, like Detroit?
It could have been. I don't remember exactly where, but like his whole thing was just like he got you a fair price and he always followed up with you. So he'd always send you like birthday cards, Christmas cards. Like his thing was cards, handwritten notes and stuff like that. So he would do handwritten notes every time you came in, handwritten notes for New Year's, Christmas, etc., and all that kind of stuff. And then when people went to buy it, he would stay in their brain. And then when people were like, I need a new car, they'd be like, I'm going to this guy because he's in my brain already. So I thought that was cool. Okay, for you, recommendation. Any recommendations? Tool?
Oh, yeah, I had one when he started, and then I know a lot of people probably already do this, and I'm often late to the game on like cool things, but
iPhone.
I bought Jesse Itzler's calendar.
Oh yeah,
where you try to map out your year and just be more intentional on doing activities that aren't always work related, or they could be work related, but they're just like things you wouldn't ordinarily do just to get out of the going 3 months and not feeling like you've made any progress. Yeah. So I bought one for momentum, and I also bought one personally, and I feel like it's a simple tool, and yes, you could probably just print it out yourself, but to be able to see everything at once and not just in a list form of here's the things I want to try to do and dates next to them, it's a really good visual to kind of plan out what you're trying to do. And we found it super valuable for here because we're trying to plan like 75 events for this coming year. And so how do you map those out to be strategic and just like making sure that it's not all bunched up in the first quarter or the first half of the year. So that's been great. And then also just personally, I have one that I've been trying to work through, and it's just give it like you put it on the wall, you see it every day. And so it's giving that sense of like reminder of like, these are the things I want to do. Last weekend, I went like trying to keep that mentality too of like doing something I wouldn't typically say yes to. And so we actually went to a comedy club for one of our members who was doing stand-up comedy up in Niles, Michigan. And typically, I love comedy, I love music, I love entertainment. But sometimes if it's, not the name brand, I'm like, do I really want to go? I'll stay home and, do whatever I want at home. And I said, no, like this is one of those moments that I'm going to do something that I wouldn't typically go do. And I went. It was really fun. He really enjoyed that we were there. And so I'm glad I did that. And I think trying to do a lot more of those types of things, not all the time, but at least once in a while there's opportunity. And so far I found that great. And I would recommend getting those. They're expensive for being a laminated piece of paper, but I think just the value that I'm getting out of it is worth the paper and the shipping that we paid for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, next. Embers, small updates, little wins, ideas simmering, experiments you haven't shared. I think this is kind of related to, I feel like Embers and Logs on the Fire are actually kind of similar segments. It's like, what are some things that like happened recently? And Ember actually is very strong for me this week because we shipped a new player last week, and I called it Ember. I don't remember why. I think it was just because I was thinking like the new marketing site that we're working on kind of has flames and stuff. And I was like, made me think of fire and made me think of Ember. And it's a embeddable player for your podcast, for your latest episode or any individual episode or a playlist of like the most recent. And so Ember, embed, they're like almost the exact same word. So that would be my Ember. I worked on that and it turned out pretty good. It's a responsive player that, you can be on whatever device and it kind of shrinks based on the breakpoints that we define and stuff like that. And it turned out really cool. And it's not something that I would have been able to write, it would take me forever to write that, 6 months ago or a year ago. But I have written stuff like this in the past, but I haven't in forever. Like if in the words of Taylor Swift, my JavaScript era was probably like at least 15 years ago, 10 years ago,
I would say at least in 2011. I took a JavaScript class from you. That's
right. Yes. So that was my JavaScript era. And so this is a lot of JavaScript. And I'm like, ooh.
By the way, that was also your Crocs era.
Yes. Yep. The Nuniform. So I had, Crocs, some kind of a funny t-shirt.
Yep.
Or at least funny to me.
It was funny. Yeah.
And then the khaki shorts with the cargo shorts. With the pockets. I mean, you gotta have pockets to put your phone in and all that kind of stuff. So I was like full on dad mode, like before I was a dad. But yeah, so my Ember was literally Ember, which is the player. And even that like was this cool way of like what I've been doing kind of recently with Claude, which is like, or any kind of AI, which is, I get a support request. Somebody's like, hey, I would love like a way to do like a playlist instead of just like one episode. And before it'd be like, okay, I'll put that on the list, and now I'm like, how fast could I do this?
Right.
Like what? Yeah. How could I do this right now and email them back in an hour and be like, it's done. And so I've been trying to do that and it's been blowing people's minds, which has been really cool. So, this person reached out over that. So I was like, cool. I already have the Ember player in, so I'm going to try and make this playlist version. So I basically got it where I kind of wanted in somewhere like an hour or something like that, shipped it to production. And then I replied and I was like, here's where it is. Here's how it works. Here's a screenshot, let me know if you have any questions. And he was like, this is unreal. Like I would not expect this level of support, I didn't tell him it only took an hour.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, it took a long time. Yeah, exactly. But I thought, that's kind of like this new idea in my head is like, how fast can I like do something that gets value to production? And it's not going to be the best. Like if Garrett, or me built these things from scratch, they would be better.
Yeah.
But it's to the level that the customer wants.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what matters. It's not about, it's not about being a craftsman.
We're not getting awards for it being the perfect code. We need money for it to be what the customer needs.
Yeah. So that's been my, like, I think my small update is like, how fast can I get something out? How fast can I like ship it and like surprise people and make them generally be like, they must have already had this in the works. There's no way that they received this and then built that functionality that fast. That's what I've been doing. And I'm finally living up to this little, sticky note that I have on my monitor that says what has to be true for it to take half the time. Cause I'm always chronic overthinker.
Yeah.
And like, especially anything that I'm scared about.
Sorry, I don't know that you are.
Yes.
I'm just agreeing that I am as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything that I'm afraid of. So if I'm like, if I ship this, is it going to break? Is it going to hurt things? Is it going to bring things down? Like anything that I'm like uncomfortable with, I find 8 more things that I can do to it to just keep stringing that along. And so that's why I've had that sticky note there. I'm like, I got to force myself to just get this over the line, because when it's over the line, then it like clears your context, clears your brain, and then you're able to, iterate, make it better. And if there's problems, people tell you. Like the player had a couple of weird edge caching bugs that I hadn't thought about. And so those were like day 2 things.
Right.
I got bug reports from nice people and fixed them, and now we're moving forward. So
awesome. Very cool.
How about you?
So this is small wins.
Yeah.
So I said this to my nieces over Christmas. I said, we were eating dinner. I said, do you know who you're sitting next to?
Kind of a big deal.
and they were obviously super confused. But in so I'll say this. Do you know who you're sitting next to?
I think so. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this could go a couple different ways. Yeah.
So maybe I should answer before you put an
Yeah.
answer in there. Is the Outstanding Young Business Leader of the Year from the South End Chamber.
Nice. Congrats. We'll clap.
Yeah. Well, so that'll be from 2025. So I think like it's weird to say because it's like you're not trying to self promote, but it's cool to get recognized for like the work that's been done and like, that people are seeing like these are cool things that people are doing.
Do you get a trophy?
I don't know. Yeah,
I would hope at least a plaque or something.
Yeah, because I
put it on the front door.
Yeah. Well, everyone, one of our members, JP, he always, he's actually going to be livid because he giving me downstairs because I couldn't stand people giving me praise every day when I walk in. He's a funny guy. Like he's saying it in jest, but like I should invite him to the ceremony so that he can.
I mean,
in a room of 1,500 people that are
and definitely hang the plaque near where his office is. Yeah.
So that was cool. Yeah. So that's
awesome.
happening like in about a month, and it's just a little cool thing that. Yeah, we don't do projects and things like for those things, but it's awesome to see like other people recognizing it.
And anytime that something like that happens and you do get the recognition, I feel like as an entrepreneur, your end goal is to turn recognition into money. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you get that, there might be people who are like, okay, well, what did he do? Oh, momentum. Oh, I feel like I've heard about that. Okay, now I'm gonna check it out. Yeah. I'm gonna buy an office. Yeah. Like I'm gonna get a coworking thing. I'm gonna show up at the bar, whatever. Like, I feel like like the recognition is awesome, but like I always think about like how will this hopefully turn into something that means I can keep doing these things or do more of these things or stuff like that.
New things. Like, yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. What's next on your?
Hey man, that's our last segment, and we're right around our new 20 to 30 minute mark. So,
perfect.
Is there anything people should do at this point?
I think they should. If you're doing things right in the new year, you're liking and subscribing.
Yeah,
that's what we're asking. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, new year, new you, new like. It's a good. I can deal with that. So
cool.
Awesome.
We'll see you next time.